Hey everyone, and welcome to another Konoha Reviews, where we review games both new and old on all platforms. If you like the content that I make, then please subscribe to the channel and click the notification bell so you never miss a review when it comes out. Today we talk about the game Inside, the revered indie title by Studio Playdead, who brought us of course the indie hit Limbo back in the day. I did play Limbo a few years after release and really liked it. Therefore, I was very excited about their next title since they would up the ante in terms of scale, story, and gameplay, and boy, did they deliver. Inside is an absolute masterpiece, a must-play for every gamer out there. By now, I've completed the game probably around 3 or 4 times already, and would still be able to pick it up and play, just because it's so good with stellar controls, great gameplay that has been fine-tuned to the T, and a dark, twisted story that still offers new hints and insight every time you experience it. Let's take a deeper dive in this indie masterpiece and see why it's absolutely worth your time and money. First, let's talk a bit about what Inside is. Inside is a 2D puzzle platformer. You control a little child on a 2D space, while graphically it being portrayed in a beautiful 3D environment, offering a lot of visual depth. This game was also released before comparable games came out like Little Nightmares, and though there are definite differences between the two titles, mostly in art style, color scheme, and gameplay, with Little Nightmares offering a more 3D movement environment, I cannot help but to hail Inside as the absolute ruling master in this genre because of how perfectly tuned the puzzles, gameplay, and controls are. The game has no tutorial, no text whatsoever. Yet it's so intuitive with its controls that anyone can figure it out in mere minutes. You control the kid of course with the analog stick, and you can jump with the A button. Simple enough. If you see an item you think you can interact with, like a box, a rope, or a ladder, you press X and the kid does the appropriate action of grabbing and holding on. And that is all there is to it. It's quite unbelievable how many different types of puzzles and gameplay the creators have come up with just this control scheme and mechanics. Everything is very physics-based, and you can definitely see the care that went into creating all the animations. The kid animates so realistically with fluid movements that it looks really realistic and believable despite being so cartoony. There are no sudden cuts or transitions in these animations, and everything feels smooth and natural. It's honestly very impressive from an animation standpoint. The game has a very unique look with the faceless characters, but refrains from feeling and looking like a cheap indie game since there's so much going on in the world and around you. The game begins perfect, for example. You start out in the woods and soon come across a large truck that drives off in the background. Later on, you see that same truck move along a road as mysterious men with dogs are searching the forest. It doesn't take long before some of those men also come after you and try to catch you. Once you manage to escape the forest and the men chasing you, you arrive soon after at a large city, and it's revealed that they were smuggling people in those big trucks. All the people seem like zombies and don't move a muscle. All this, what I'm telling you, and described just now, happens in the background and not in the actual foreground where the player is controlling the kid. It's environmental storytelling on a level rarely seen, because it gives way for gameplay on the foreground while being able to deliver plot and lore in the background, besides also of course providing atmosphere and setting. Since there's no text or spoken dialogue, it's not a story-driven experience in the sense that you'll be watching cutscenes or listening to dialogue. But where Limbo was really abstract, there's a much clearer red line in what's going on with the happenings in Inside, to the point where you can't put the pieces together without the game spelling it out for you. You see, those people you see later on marching in unison in the streets of the city, and it seems like they are being brainwashed by the mysterious kidnappers. They even put them through certain tests to determine that they indeed follow their orders. This is also a really clever and tense moment as you fall through the floor by accident and they think you are one of the brainwashed slaves as well. So for a few minutes, you will need to march along all the zombie people at the same tempo and abide by certain tests like jump at a given moment or move in a pattern that they expect you to. It's really clever and such simple design and mechanics that work so effectively. It's one of the many examples in that this game succeeds in delivering something so great and grand with so little. This whole section, while you are just moving in that same rhythm, you are constantly freaking out that you might mess up and die, or are wondering what this all is, since you see masked men study all the brainwashed people, and even see whole groups of bystanders look onward and taking notes. What is going on in this weird twisted world? You eventually get spotted and need to run away, and escape from the mysterious men coming after you with their dogs. All the while this escape is happening, you can see that the loads of kidnapped people being transported in trains to a different area. Again, the game does not spell this out for you, and it's all in the background, while you are dodging and concentrating on searchlights on the foreground. But it's so cool to see the story be explained and shown on the background with such attention to detail. Every time I play the game again, I notice new details in the background that just tell a little bit more about what is going on around you. You are eventually forced way underground, and even underwater. But by the end, you make it back up towards the main facility where they bring all the people and perform experiments on them. And finally it is revealed what they do with all the kidnapped people, and the discovery is genuinely horrifying. They create this sick looking monstrosity that is made out of all these people melted and mushed together to create this grotesque blob with limbs sticking out of it. You eventually free it, which is also hinted at by some theories that this thing can control certain people from afar to come and rescue itself, which also leads into the secret ending you can get. But once you free it, you get sucked up in this horrible blob, but then can take control of the monster and can escape the facility while having your revenge on all those cruel scientists. It's honestly an amazing ending to an amazing game, and can even be considered amongst one of the best and most satisfying endings in gaming, period. It was such a revelation to me that, instead of having a really difficult boss fight at the end, which might result in some stress or a tedious repetition of doing the same thing over and over again, but here, you become the one that is ultra powerful, and almost as a reward for all the blood, sweat, and tears you shed to get here and complete the puzzles, the game now lets you loose and have fun for the last 10 to 15 minutes and just destroy everything. It's a gameplay principle that more games could utilize, and still feels like a greater reward or more epic than the earlier mentioned super hard or disappointing anticlimactic boss fight. Especially the head of the scientist, who gets a real brutal death, was incredibly satisfying and very gory to experience. But that goes for the entire game. Limbo was already very visceral and gory with its game where a small child could be decapitated, crushed, sawn in half, and more. But the thing was that Limbo was all black and white, and you only saw shapes in silhouettes, and here with inside, there's full-on color, so you can clearly see what is happening. And the game does not shy away from murdering your character brutally if you fail a certain aspect or puzzle. Your character can get shot, eaten by dogs, blown to bits by ultrasound shockwaves, or chopped to pieces by a giant fan. And this time, there's blood. Yep, it's pretty shocking, but honestly fits the dark tone and mood perfectly. You really want to help this child and make it succeed in getting to the next section and overcoming these horrible and brutal obstacles. What's so brilliant too is that many sections revolve around a certain gameplay mechanic or gimmick. One example is a small submarine that you can control through the deep waters, and another one are these sound waves, shock waves that are so heavy and loud that they crush anything that's not made of solid metal. With the submarine, you will need to control it, burst through various obstacles and doors, jump over ramps, and even use the light that's mounted on it to scare a little sea monster that otherwise breaks the machine and kills you. With the sound waves, you need to time your movements from cover to cover, and need to use switches and correct timing to move the cover around, and even a section where you hold onto a sliding piece of cover and need to move that according to if there's a rail to hold onto or not. All these sections go on for just the right amount of time, to the point where you are kind of done with that mechanic or gimmick. The game introduces a whole new mechanic and area. It knows exactly for how long the main mechanic you are dealing with stays fun, and is really noteworthy because we've seen so many games out there, many of which also are AAA, that have mechanics that they use over and over and over again, which become really stale after quite a while. But never with Inside. Now of course, Inside is also a very short game. You can easily complete it in 2.5 hours in your first playthrough, and I completed my last playthrough for this review in only 90 minutes. But because of that, the tempo always stays consistent, and there's never a part that feels like filler. Besides that, many of the puzzles are physics-based, meaning you will have to move certain objects over and yonder to progress, there are also a few very original puzzle mechanics that work splendidly. The first and foremost is the mind control mechanic, where you jump into this mind control machinery and then suddenly take control of certain zombie men you can see in the back or foreground. You control all of them at the same time, meaning if you push the stick to the right, all of them will move to the right. If you move the stick to the left, they will all move to the left, etc. By doing this, you can lead them to certain areas and have them grab or hold on to objects or environmental assets to open gates or break apart barriers so you can progress. And this in and of itself is pretty clever, but they take it up a notch and bring it to the next level by, for example, introducing a whole new layer by you taking control of a zombie slave, which then in return can also take control of another zombie slave by having that first zombie jump into a mind control machine as well. It might sound a bit complicated and weird as I describe it, but trust me when you see and play that section that it makes sense. And it's used brilliantly to where everything has a purpose and you play the puzzle exactly the way that the creators intended. Many of the sections have also been polished to the T when it comes to timing. They calculated it to the second. There are, for example, various sections where dogs will chase you. You have to jump off a cliff or other high point to escape them. The creators have made the running speed and animation just so that literally at the last second when you think you'll be caught, you can jump away. Literally a single second later, you would have been caught, either by the dogs or maybe a searchlight that is heading your way as you open the door hatch. These moments have you panic and scream at your TV like, come on, run, run, or open up, open up, open up! And it's an absolute joy to have these few very thrilling moments in the game. Inside is a master of having that timing down, and no other game comes close to having that timing be so perfected in animations and mechanics. Even with some of the puzzles, which I guess in essence are still physics-based but don't follow the rule of physics, the game is still logical enough to where you will enjoy the puzzles. It's going to sound a bit bonkers what I'm about to say, but there's a section where you can control the water level in a science facility, only the thing is that this water is upside down. So instead of the water being at the bottom, it's floating up top. Now if you jump up into the water, you can swim around it like you can always can, and if you jump out, you will fall to the ground which is below you. They have again some wonderful and brilliant puzzles here, where you need to create obstacles and ways of getting high enough to jump into the water to swim over giant ramps below you or interact with buttons as you fall from the water above. The section with the little water creature I talked about is also quite horrifying and probably the most horror-esque section, where you need to distract it by having it come towards you and then juke it as you head to the next save area before it can get its hands on you. Honestly, each section of Inside is just wonderful and never outstays its welcome. The biggest puzzle in the game, where you need to assemble a small army of followers, is also great, once more using physics to its full advantage and logical thinking, and all in all, I just cannot recommend Inside enough to anyone out there who is a fan of games. Heck, the controls are so intuitive that anyone can understand this, so it can even be enjoyed by those who don't normally enjoy games all that much. The price tag is also very sweet and well worth your money. It's a bit difficult to explain, but I'm really of the opinion that a small game like this can offer a same feel experience like a grand 30-hour or 40-hour epic game out there. If you would put it next to a game that offers a giant world which you can then explore and do quests in, it might seem that the open world game might be better or more worth your time and money, since you can get more out of it. But chances are that in that open world game, there are some tedious or boring sections, or maybe side quests that are not very interesting or repetitive. With Limbo, none of that is the case, and each section and second of gameplay is carefully crafted and masterfully presented. It's honestly one of the best games that came out in the last 5 years, and deserves to be played at least once by anyone who's into gaming. In the end, Inside gets a 9.5. Playdead is currently also working on his third game, and has already been revealed that this time it will be a proper 3D game, since the team was tired of the limitations of 2D gameplay. We are a long way off from its release of the game, but I cannot wait to see what brilliant mechanics and gameplay this talented team can come up with on a 3D space instead of a 2D one.